Hi, everyone. Chad here with Living the Dream Real Estate Group. And today on the podcast, we are going to be talking all things to do with window coverings. You may be asking, well, why are you talking about window coverings? Well, just a week and a bit ago, we ended up with a cold snap that came through here in the Okanagan with temperatures that were well below zero, well below freezing. And it just isn't something that we have regularly here in the Okanagan, or at least it only happens a few times in the year. Now, with that, it comes with a lot of heat loss that comes through our windows. And today, Rosanne Mattson from Made in the Shade Okanagan came onto the program to talk to us a little bit about how we can create more energy efficiency with our window coverings. There's a lot of different products that are out there that we can be utilizing that will help us with not only the winter when it comes to keeping in the heat, but there's also some products that will help us protect from that hot sun that's blowing it, or not blowing, that's beating in on into our homes. And there's some great products that can keep that at bay and help us keep our homes cool for the summers. We're also going to talk a little bit about designs and some trends that we're seeing. So let's pop into the program. Hey everyone, welcome back to Living the Dream podcast. And today with us, we have Rosanne Mattson with Made in the Shade Okanagan. And she is everything to do with window coverings here in the Okanagan. And I've known Rosanne for quite some time, but Rosanne, why don't you share a little bit about how you got into this whole business of window coverings and how long you've been doing it?
Hi, Chad and Scott. Thanks. I have been doing window coverings now for 5 years. I've always been interested in home interiors. I worked in the fashion industry for quite a few years and just love textiles and colors and fabrics. So this was really a natural transition to it. Realized with moving out here to the Okanagan, it's imperative that you have some
Mm.
sort of protection on your windows. So really felt that it was a great opportunity to expand what I was already interested in.
Hmm. And as far as service area, you are helping people where?
We will go all the way to the North Okanagan. We've got clients in Salmon Arm, quite a few of them. And then all the way down, we have Penticton and the Soyuz as well. So
Awesome.
That, that's great, Rosanne, and thank you so much for joining us. This is one topic that's near and dear to my heart because I have east facing windows, and so the sun punches me in the face every single morning. So you're a perfect person to talk to. But in speaking to that, I wanted to chat a little bit about the climate control and energy efficiency that comes along with blinds. I think and shades. I think a lot of the times we look at it from a perspective of, well, this is a design aspect of our house, but there's so much more function to shades from our conversations. And so wanted to chat a little bit about the energy efficiencies and those types of things.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. When I go into homes and when people are concerned about whether it's too much heat coming into the home or the heat loss, we really do look at there are two particular products that have the highest energy efficiency. One of those is cellular shades. I know we've seen them, they're the honeycomb shade. Part of the magic of this product is the fact that it traps the heat or the cold prior
Mm.
to it entering your room and your home. Now, this can reduce your energy costs, whether that be your air conditioning or your heating, by 25%. It's actually quite remarkable. The other one is shutters. Now, it's not every home that wants the shutter design. Very Palm Beach feeling, very beachy,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it very much suits certain homes. But that also has a really high energy efficiency. When you think about it, you're putting wood on your windows, and so it's like you're building a mini wall or furniture for them, and it's going to give you incredibly high energy efficiency.
So, okay. So, case in point. So, for some of the folks that are watching, and I really do hope that they're watching today because we're going to look at some examples in a little bit here of some of the stuff that you have. But for those listening watching us today, is that we had just come out of here in the Okanagan. We typically don't have super, super cold weather. We're typically right around that. We can be right around 0 degrees freezing and maybe just a little bit under that. But the last couple of weeks here, the last week and a half, we were in a deep freeze. There's this huge low winter North Pole came to the Okanagan, as well as a lot of Canada and some of the States as well. And it was really, really cold. So what you're saying is that with some of the shades or the system window coverings that you have now, we could have been using some of those for energy efficiency with that. It would have helped.
100%. And actually, I do get asked this, like, does it have to be those products? No, any product that you put in front of a window gives you some protection. It's just which are the highest and to what level are you looking for that. But you can tell, like, if you've ever opened up your shades, whether it be a screen shade or a roller shade, whatever it is, you can feel the cool air coming from it. That anything that you're putting in front of the window, it blocks it. In the summer when we're installing, it does not matter what product it is. When we put it in, and drop them down, it feels like we have turned up the air conditioning. So.
And so with the products, then when you talk about that, is it based on, like, is it certain fabrics? Is it thickness? Like, what determines that amount of, I guess, energy efficiency, light block, those types of things?
Definitely, some is the design. That's why, with the cellular, the way that honeycomb can trap the heat and the cold, that one's all design. Now, when you start looking at some of the other fabrics, that is the thickness or the openness. That will really determine how much energy efficiency that you're getting.
So what are we talking about when we're, just to give me a frame of reference, sorry, as I'm thinking about this, what kind of thickness are we thinking of with some of these honeycomb ones?
With the honeycomb don't really change in their thickness.
Okay.
They'll change in what their vein size is, which I've liked because they've gone to a lot larger vein size, which gives it a much more modern look than it being so pleated like we used to see.
Right.
I believe that they used to be 3/8 of an inch. Now our most popular is 1 1/4. So definitely much more of a fresher look. So with that one, it isn't necessarily the thickness, but when you start looking at roller shades, it is. You can have ones that are really, really sheer, and then you can have ones that have a much tighter weave to them. And that's really where you're getting a lot more of that control of the heat and the cool.
Yeah, because it's interesting when we're thinking of, now we're changing topic, because we're not changing topic, but when we're thinking about our window coverings, oftentimes we're not thinking about the energy efficiency of it. And now when we're talking, like you're talking, it's just like, are we putting up like insulation sheets, up on our windows? And I know we're not, but with that, there's this incredible design. Like these come in as many colors as you can imagine, I'm sure.
Oh, 100%. Well, our number one selling product here in the Okanagan is definitely the roller and the screen shades. The reason for this is people really wanting, that minimal look. They understand the function of needing the window coverings, but let's face it, we've paid for the view. We love what the Okanagan brings. So they want to be able to have those go up, roll up into either a cassette or fascia, and truly just disappear. So that is the reason why they are so appealing here. Now with that, they come in hundreds of fabrics, textures, colors. Really, it lets them really personalize how they want their space. And I often find that we will choose a header, like the topping, the cassette or the fascia, into the same color as whatever their window trim is. If they've got black trims, we'll do it in the black. The white, we'll do it in the white. So when they go up, you really don't see them. They don't become center stage. They become much more about a function. If I need to control the glare or control the heat or the cold, then that's when they come into use.
Okay. Now you sent me some pictures here. I'm just going to share these. Yes. And so just give me 1 second as we pull this up. But this would be an example of your screen shades or solar shades.
Yes,
I'm on the right
correct.
one. Okay. Yeah.
So that would be keeping a lot of light glare off. That would be a 3%. It's a charcoal color that was done there. And that has been done with a black fascia at the top. So you can see what I mean. When they roll up, that disappears into that fascia. And it feels like you have not added necessarily window coverings onto your windows. And I find anyone, that has the lake views or great views, that's what they're looking for.
So just a lot of, especially those headers, because I think back, 20, 30 years ago, when I look at some of the window coverings that they were using, the big bulky headers and the contraptions that it took to make them up and down, like that looks like it molds right into the window frame and it's almost a part of the window.
It does, and that's really what I try to look for here. Like in this home, for example, because they're all of their trims were black, we added the
Mm,
black fascia. That doesn't mean that you have to choose a black window covering. You can see here they chose like a tan textured,
yeah.
but when it rolls up, it does disappear.
Mm-hmm. Let me just see here. I think I've got another couple here. Oh, there's one. This one really shows off that the way that the fascia works there.
Yes. Now, the previous one was a screen, so that's why you could
Okay.
actually see some through it. That previous screen, they were looking out to their pool. On this one,
Okay.
so you can actually see through it. This one, you can't see through it. This room, they had a TV in, and they really wanted to make sure that they did not have the glare. So we did it. This is more of a solid. With the
Okay.
overhang, we never covered the top portion, but we did cover it where the mullion was.
And Rosanne, is that just to almost get that I guess blackout effect? Is that just the way that they've woven the fabric?
It's an entirely different fabric. When I'm talking like this is a screen shade because they can see out to the lake. So a screen shade, a certain percentage of the fabric is open. Anything between 1% and 10% usually. The most popular here in the Okanagan is 3. This one is a 3. I feel that
Okay.
it's still giving them a lot of, and when I'm saying 3, that
I
means
was going to say.
97% of it is covered and 3% of it is left open that they're able to see out of. And the other one, when I'm saying it's a solid, you can't see through it. So people like that, definitely, if you have privacy concerns, just it gives a different feeling. Or they're close to their neighbors, just they want to feel like they're closed in.
Okay.
That's that. It's great information, and what it gets me thinking about is the amount of different homes, and of course, architects. Architects love to build different shapes and sizes and everything else, and so in terms of sometimes we'll see bowed windows and those types of things in different shapes. How do you guys deal with that? Because do most shades run straight across or in a linear pattern, or how do you deal with that?
Well, here
We
I've got
actually,
another one here. That's
yeah,
is this a good one to show?
yeah, it sure is. That's the cellular shade. Now that is actually showing. It's not necessarily answering Scott's question,
Oh,
but
sorry.
it is
Okay.
showing. But when we're working with a window where we need to have a straight line, we add something called a palladium shelf. So on that previous picture where it showed like that angle window at the top, we had nothing. Yeah, if you go back to it, nope, yeah, well, there we added a plate, but here. So where that divide was on the window there, when it's
Right.
rolled up, you can see we had nothing to attach it to. So we actually built a palladium shelf, and that is in a solid wood that's attached at either one of the ends. And that allows us something where we're able to attach the window shades to. So we just choose a straight line. I always try to pick somewhere that is a natural divide in the window.
Hmm.
So to me,
Okay.
going with what already was the architectural structure of the window made it look the best. That we were really enhancing that. So
Okay. And now you referenced Scott in one of the questions you had. You had referenced a bowed window, and you were talking about cellular shades. I think with that. Let's
yes,
just go down.
so I do have a bow window that we have done
Oh, there we go.
there, where we actually put up 5. These are all motorized. We put up 5 separate shades.
All right. So motorized. Here's a question for you: with those, or actually almost, or many of the different window coverings that you have, they can be either hardwired for power or battery operated. Now, in that, can you talk a little bit about the differences that you would have with that? Well, I mean, other than battery and hardwire,
Yes. Now,
pros and cons.
all of the battery or all of the vendors that we use, all of the battery operated windows are all done with a rechargeable motor, which makes it really easy. You plug in, it's a USB port that you plug into it. You leave the charge. It lasts for about 12 to 18 months, depending upon how often you're using your window or how large that shade is. Obviously, the larger the shade, the more power that it'll use. We also have solar panels. So on some of the really high windows, rather than having somebody go up and change batteries, we actually add a solar pack to it. As long as they've got enough light coming in their window, they're never going up to do a recharge on those batteries.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And with those, with the motorized ones versus the manual lifts or the manual mechanisms on it, do the majority of shades come with both options, or are we dealing with certain specific products that would be have that motorized option?
No, great question, Scott. All of them come with both options. Now, where you run into some challenges is if I'm looking at a really large window, then using a manual lift on that just does not work. Number one, it's not easy to operate. Then I'm looking at adding different motorization to it. The more that I'm adding power, the larger I can go. So depending upon the window size and what someone is needing and the height, then I will take a look at there's full motorization and the hard wiring. And then there's also something called a power wand. Power wands have taken off big time because what it is it too it's motorized, but it's a wand that hangs down that has an up button and a down and a stop. If you push the up, your blind will just automatically go up. They're rechargeable and they're very inexpensive to add to a window. So it gives people a motorized option that is much more economical. For example, with one of our vendors, their power wands add $80 to a window, which is very affordable in comparison to full motorization, which is typically closer to 300.
Okay. Well, and you raise a really good point there, because I would assume a lot of the places that you're potentially walking into as well are older homes. People are renovating them, those
Yes.
types of things, and they might not have the necessary wiring to be able to hardwire those in. So that power wand seems that's a really nice option to have to motorize it, because I know I've had larger blinds in other homes and you have the manual pull cord and I'm just waiting for it to break off ultimately. So
I agree with you. So, no,
Hmm.
it definitely gives them some different options. So, and then all of these can be tied to home automation as well.
Right.
The power wand itself can't be. That's the only downside to that, is that
Yep.
it's not running off of a radio frequency, whereas all of the others are.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, with automation these days, you can have it programmed to come up with sunrise, sunset, go up and down all different times a
Yeah.
day. Wow.
I have got clients that set them because they love their view. Their shades only all come down once they've left their house in the morning because they want to see out. And then actually they all rise up when they come home. So they're there really for the energy efficiency and to
Hmm.
reduce those heating and cooling costs and protect their flooring and their furniture. But when they are home, they truly are enjoying their view.
Well, you know what? And one of the things when you're talking about view is I look out towards the west. And I know for a lot of our clients that are here in the Okanagan, the one thing that if they have big open windows or decks that are facing out towards the southeast or southwest, sorry, or the west, we have this big ball of heat that is
Yes.
just blaring across the way and right into our windows or onto our decks. Now, do you have you have a blind system or sorry a shade system for decks and such?
We do. We've got a couple different options for that. There's been a few things that have been added and a few more restrictions. We use a company out of Vernon to do our installations for us because
Okay.
it takes a much larger crew to be able to do the installations.
Okay.
But they work very similar to what the interior is, where you're looking at what percent of openness do you want. They can be
Hmm.
attached to the outside of just a solid window or being done on a deck. And they too come in that 1, 3, 5, depending upon how open you want it.
how much of your view you want to see.
and how much of your view.
Yep. Okay.
Excellent. So we've talked a lot about functionality. We've talked
Mm-hmm.
a lot about the what I feel are the important parts of the blinds, but just like clothing and everything else like that, everything's got a trend. So talk to us a little bit about what's new. What are the new things that people are starting to look for versus 5 years ago, 10 years ago to today? Where are we headed for shades?
Okay, you know what? That's exciting, and it excites me, Scott, because I love seeing it, and especially somebody who loves textiles. It is drapery. Drapery is the number one trending industry right now. It was something that when you thought about it before, you thought about it being like your grandmother's or maybe
Mm-hmm.
something like older. A lot of the styles of the drapery, like this is a very modern design, and it is a ripple fold pleat that's at the top. So it's not your traditional pleating. It's got a lot cleaner lines and it adds so much softness. And I find that I've got so many young clients now asking me about drapery. It can be in a sheer like this one in the picture, or you can actually line any of the fabrics and have it be light filtering or in fact room darkening. When you think about blackout, wanting to black out a room, when you go into hotels and want blackout, those are all lined drapery because it is
Mm.
truly the only thing that you can black out the light from is having floor to ceiling, wall to wall drapery. And
Right.
I do find that that has certainly come back. And I love what it does for a space. With so many, like we've got taller ceilings, more open space. It absorbs a lot of the sound and the echoing, and it
Mm.
really lets you personalize it. It gives a different feeling to the room. This
Mhm.
is one with the shears, and then I believe I have another one where we've actually lined it in a bedroom.
Okay. Sorry.
That's okay.
Oh.
Oh, no.
Yeah, well, Chad looks for this. It's interesting you raise that point because that was when we were talking about drapes prior to getting on this podcast. All I could picture was the yellows and oranges and browns of that really thick material in my grandma's house. That it was like you shut those and there was no light. You felt like you were in a dungeon right away. So we've
Exactly.
we've obviously come a long way because these are you had elegance as a part of that one slide and this is elegant. Like
Yeah.
it looks really nice. It adds to the room for sure.
And it
Mm-hmm.
cuts all of that glare. You know, I had one client that we installed them for, and she felt as if she would not use them very often. She wanted them because she loved the look. But she gave me a call and she said, Rosanne, to Chad's point, at a certain time of the day, I can't even see in my kitchen. I need to have my sunglasses on because everything, the glare that's coming off of the reflection coming off of the lake, she said, we use them daily. I love them. And it's just enough that it cuts the glare and gives almost like a soft, a little bit more of like a, just a beachy feel to it. When you think about, being on the water and having those shears and it just moving lightly in the wind or in that air coming in, it just feels really good. It adds a different element to windows.
And staying on the drapes chat here. So when somebody's thinking about putting drapes up in front of their windows, is because you'll see some in some aspects they'll have both the shade and potentially the drapes as more of I guess a design element to it. Um, what is your suggestion when it comes to that? Is can drapes do ultimately what a shade can provide, or do you need both, or how would you manage that depending on the room?
That's a good question. I find very often if someone is just really liking the look of it, we don't do a full drapery. It looks like it's a full drapery, but it's actually side panels. Like, for example, what I have behind me is just a side panel. So it's 24
Mm.
inches of fabric that has been pleated down to being, 14 inches. And really, what that does is it just finishes off the area. I wanted to add color to the space, so I chose one that had a bit of texture and a bit of color to it. And so I will ask how they want to use it. If they're wanting to fully be able to close it and use it for a different function, then yes, we'll do full drapes. But very often I'm just doing side panels,
Mm-hmm. And then
which
you also brought up one of the other trends that you're seeing. We were taking a look at, and this was actually a kind of one of those things like I did not expect it. And it was these natural woven
Yes,
styles that we're seeing to
natural
come
woven
back.
woods. I have
Yeah.
been asked so often about this, especially with designers. If you follow much on HGTV, you're seeing like Joanna Gaines uses these all the time. Property Brothers, like they're pretty much in every one of their shows. And I think it is because we've gone to so many clean white elements. This is adding like a texture and a warmth
Hmm.
to the space. Like this was a very white kitchen with just the wood on the hood, and so we wanted to add something that just added more warmth. And that's what I feel. They are all a natural fabric, and they can be lined. These ones we didn't line, but you can line them with either light filtering or even with true blackout. But it just adds a different feeling. And I do find that I'm getting asked more about these.
Huh.
So Roseanne, is this the next evolution of, I think back about 15, 20 years ago when a lot of it was like the wooden slat blinds versus shades. And so is this the next evolution of that, a little softer, a little more functional material?
Yes, we still do some of the blinds, but we're not doing it as often. There's a
Hmm.
couple reasons for that. I think anyone who's ever had them, when you raise them up completely, like so many people are wanting, there's a really large stack at the top. They're also incredibly heavy.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be honest, they don't like our heat. Our heat will make them what we call smile or
Yeah.
frown. Like they start to change in their shape, and it is just because of the amount of heat that we have here in the Okanagan. So I do find there's more people going away from those and really looking at what are some of the other options that I can
Mhm.
have.
Well, and I think to talk about those wooden blinds, the thing that I hated the most about them was cleaning.
Oh, and that's my other thing that I will get as well.
It's like dust after dust after dust. So yeah, it was. I'm glad we've gone away from that, to say the
Yeah.
least.
So having the roller shades where they roll up and disappear, that's just the cleaning of those are so easy. All you do is wipe them off. Like they're very, very easy. And I do find that that's what people are looking for. Just keeping their space simpler, easier to being able to manage.
Hmm. Well, I have to say, Roseanne, this was really insightful for, when we're thinking of our window coverings, we just are not thinking of it in the way that they could certainly be helping us with our energy efficiency, not only having the energy efficiency, but the design aspect as well. And this has been really enlightening for us today. So I really do appreciate you coming on and being a part of our podcast. And so if some of our listeners, some of the people that are watching us here today, we're going to have a little PowerPoint that's going to be attached to this, or just reach out to us and we'll get it to you. Or Roseanne, they can reach out to you by reaching out to.
My phone number is 250-870-7199, or it's Rosanne, and it doesn't have an E in the middle, so it's ROSANNE at mitsokanagan.com. MITS stands for Made in the Shade, but mitsokanagan.com.
Right on.
And thank you guys very much for having me on. I love talking about it, and I love being able to discuss different options with people and really letting them personalize their space.
Well, and you know what? And we appreciate that, you coming on as well, just because one of the things that we're doing this podcast for is that we want, our clients, our listeners to benefit from some great organizations, companies that are in the Okanagan that can certainly help them when it comes to, making their homes better, more efficient, and just working better. And so we're always happy to have people like yourself on. So thank you for joining us today here on the Okanagan, living the dream, Okanagan.
It
So
is living the dream.
it is really living the dream. And so for all of you that are out there and listening to us, if you'd like some more information, just reach out and we will get some information back to you. And if you have some questions, please just direct email us or reach out to Roseanne, as I know she would be more than happy to help. So from all of us here in our team, Living the Dream Real Estate Group, we want you to be living your dreams here in the Okanagan. Thanks. And you have a great day.
Thank you.